Universities are not the ROI that they used to be. Now I'm going to very quickly just back myself here. There are absolutely things you have to go to university for. I do not want somebody doing brain surgery on me that hasn't been to university and trained as a doctor. I mean, I don't want someone doing brain surgery on me anyway, but I definitely don't want that happening. I don't want somebody standing up in court defending me. I don't want that to happen either, but I don't want somebody standing up in court defending me, or I don't want solicitors that haven't. I wonder if that one's different. I'll come back to that one, but there are absolutely courses you have to go to university for. My wife is a psychologist and she worked in the prison service, and that's how we came to actually own prisons. She couldn't have done what she did without going to university. So that's definitely needed. I trained as a chef when I first trained. That was my original trade was a chef. I didn't need to go to university for that. I didn't need to go to college for that. I did, but I didn't need to. I think that historically, there's been a route that you have to go through that's expected of people, and that obviously has university. And I think that was okay, but because now university is so expensive, from my perspective, what I see more often than not is people just getting into tens of thousands of pounds worth of debt before they've actually left university. And I think that's my bugbear for it, is you feel like you have to, and actually you're going to come out with tens of thousands of pounds worth of debt, potentially with a degree that you are never going to be able to pull that debt back for. But I'm going to back myself a little bit here again, because I'm a mentor at Oxford Brookes University for university students. So I've got 4 mentees this year who are all in hospitality, events, tourism, management, hotel courses at different stages. I speak to those guys around there. We talk about lots of stuff. We talk about the weather, we talk about travel, we talk about their futures, we talk about what I'm doing, what they're doing, and we just have conversations. So very much, it's a really good program, and we've worked very closely with Oxford Brookes, both as a company and me as an individual, for a good few years now. We have some really good relationships with education establishments. We run an entire Education Behind Bars program designed for education world. So I'm all up for education. I just think that the way it's currently delivered is a bit broken. And I think the way it's financed means that people going into it come out with so much debt. I don't know, because I've not been through the experience, whether it's missold, misrepresented, and do students are they even aware that when they go into this, what that's going to look like when they come out the other end? And I think a lot of industries you can learn in the industry. Both, I think, in accountancy and in legal, you can actually ply your trade and learn your trades without necessarily going to university, because you can learn that in the firm. And you can start at the bottom, and lots of them will have entire schemes and programs that you go all the way through. They'll be aligned to the degree, so the university degree, and some you will go to university maybe sometimes, and some you will do in practice. And I think that's a really good way of doing it, because what you're doing is you're learning and earning. Whoever's paying for the course, for the fee, might be the employer, with an expectation the employee stays with them for a certain period of time. I think that's fair. It might be that the government's fronting some of it. They're growing individuals that are going to go into a professional working environment at a certain level, that once they do that, they're going to start paying taxes. And that's going to feed back into the system. And they're part of that society model. My opinion has changed though, probably even only in the last few days, weeks, maybe even months, about universities and schools. And I think teachers are great, because I think that they go into it for all the right reasons, and I think that the system actually makes their job really difficult. And I think a lot of that comes back down to funding. But I've been spending a good bit of time with lecturers and academics and academia, and I've definitely found a different opinion by working with them and how that kind of works. And I've been working with them specifically about how we can improve our business, and what they have brought to the table has allowed us to do that, and is allowing us to shape that. And those partnerships that we're then creating are really helping us to move forwards. And actually, We're talking about starting a podcast with one of them soon, a joint podcast between what we do in penal heritage, what they do in their space of research around penal heritage, and how we come together and how we can deliver this. And that's really exciting. It doesn't change the thing of you can get a huge amount of debt out of university. Your qualification, does it warrant that level of debt? That's an individual decision. And it was a couple of years ago, I think 3 or 4 years ago, when I first got invited up to Oxford Brookes to speak. And I remember walking in and just being like, whoa, this is what a university is actually like inside the university. And so, yeah, I've had that kind of experience. And I think that worldly experience of universities is really, really important. But I just kind of think that the ROI of university, I'm not convinced it's there anymore. But really, it's not a world I'm in, because I've not had to do it. So I'd love to hear from you guys as to what you think. Whether, are you a student that's got loads of debt and you feel that that was worth it? Are you a student that's got loads of debt and you feel like it wasn't worth it? How long will it take you to pay that debt back? My wife is going to pay her student loan back next year. 43 when she pays her student loan back. She finished uni when she was like 23. So, 20 years worth of debt she's been paying off. I don't care if you've got a degree or not. But I'm quite different anyway, and entrepreneurs are quite different, and our industry is quite different. So I couldn't give two shits whether you've got a degree or not bothered at all. You could have failed every single class at school, never gone to university, but if you can capture and edit and do things in a way that we need, then that's what we want. We want that magic. We also understand that people will start at a point, and the more they do it, the better they get. So I think for us, two things are really important. Cultural fit is key, massive. And I think the second thing for us is the ability, the capability, but we don't expect the finished version, especially not in more of a junior role, or somebody who's not, who's going into a directorship role. So I think for us, and I think a lot of employers are like that. Not all, and I think, there's traditional sense here, but I think that's there. I mean, if we wanted somebody as a CFO, for example, so Chief Financial Officer, then yeah, I'm going to expect them to have a certain level of experience. They'll have to have some qualifications. I don't actually know what those are. I'd be more about experience. But that is a personalized and an industry side of things of where we are. I think the arts is a really interesting one because, again, I think you learn it by doing it. And I think that you can do all the theory you like in terms of how to edit a video until you actually sit down and start editing a video and cutting it up. You don't really know how to do it. But I also think to edit a video, you need to understand how to shoot a video. And to shoot a video, you probably need to understand how to do it, how to structure a video from almost kind of storyboarding. And to get to that, you need to understand how to vision it. So the vision will come first. You'll have a passion about that. And what I always say, and I did this in the podcast the other day, it's so important to be passionate about what you do. And if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life, is the age-old story. And there's a lot of truth and reality to that. And certainly if you love what you do, when you have the shit days, which you will have, it makes it a lot easier, because you're going to love it again. I never really give advice. I just talk about my opinion. And I think that my brain works in a very certain way, and the way that I learn is by doing things. I don't really learn I learn a bit by being shown it, but I couldn't learn by reading it. And therefore, to me, university would have been awful. I'd have really, really struggled. So that's probably why I'm turned off of it more. Whereas I know people that are very, very academic, and a lot of my friends are very academic, and that's how they learn. So that works, and therefore they went to university and did degrees. Did they all need to? Probably not. But probably did need to study theology to become a vicar. Yeah, probably. Probably did need to study space science with aeronautics to become effectively he's an astrophysicist. Yeah, probably. I don't want to be getting into a spaceship that Steve, the local mechanic, has put together. No offense, Steve, but we've drunk Guinness together. You're probably not the guy. The dude that studies French, no. I think he probably learned. I think he would say that he learned more French from being in France for 6 months than he would have done at years at university. I learned more from a couple of people I spoke to who run hotel companies or run hotels than I probably would have done from running a hotel for a year. So in half an hour, I probably got more information I would do in a year. I have failed so many times in my life, like so many times. I have failed far more than I've succeeded. I have failed massively financially, like huge failures that have cost me tens of thousands of pounds, like absolutely tens of thousands of pounds. We're looking down the throat of one at the moment, could be £250,000 loss. Every time I make a mistake like that, every time I fail, and especially financially, and even if it's just time-based, we haven't actually lost any money, but we've lost, time, whether it's a week, a month, 6 months, a year. Every single time that happens, it gets moved in my brain. I think of, okay, over there, let's say this whole deal that I've got running at the moment goes south, we lose 250 grand. I will chalk that up as a learning. So to my brain, that becomes part of my education, and therefore that money has been spent on my education. So whilst on one hand, I'll say that I think that the level of debt you come out with from university is massive and probably doesn't compare to what you've got and where you're trying to go now, because you're still starting at kind of the bottom end. I have probably got a bigger student loan than anyone else in university, because I can literally go, my first company was 83 grand there. Right, so that goes into the pot. I can definitely think of another one that was 30 grand, so that goes into the pot. I know there was another 55 grand, so that goes into the pot. And there'll be tens of thousands of pounds along the way. And this next one goes south, may do, may not do, 250 grand goes into the pot. That pot must already be at £500,000. So that's my student debt. The difference is that I guess I've paid at the office, and therefore I've already paid that, and I'm not looking at now having to do that with interest. And I've learned from it, and now I can move forwards. So yeah, is the ROI there from universities? I don't know. And I think it's individual. And I think that's down to every single person, and you have to make that judgment for yourself. I do think there should be some more education around making people aware of what they're getting themselves in for before they do it. And I think universities have that responsibility, as do the lenders, as do schools, as do parents, as we do in society in general. This has been Entrepreneur Life with me, Joel Campbell, and I am an entrepreneur.